Hello and welcome to another Matura Express English stream. My name is Chris and today we're going to talk about the introduction. Welcome back again to this lovely Wednesday stream. Of course, it's English night. Today we're going to talk about the oral exam, and we're not going to discuss the whole exam. We're going to discuss or focus on the introduction of the exam. So as you might know, the exam is, let's keep this slide on. This exam is structured as follows. So you have an introduction, you have task 1, which is the monologue, and then you have task 2, which is the dialogue. The dialogue is followed by a follow-up discussion. And today, as I've already mentioned, we're gonna focus on the first part of the exam, the introduction. So, at first, we're gonna have a look at today's overview. So, what we're gonna talk about. At first, I give you an overview of the A-level self-introduction task. Then we're gonna talk about how you can talk about your education and your career. And last but not least, there is a demonstration of A-level self-introduction task, but we're gonna talk about that later. Overview of the introduction, self-introduction task. So why is there a self-introduction task? Basically, there is the most obvious criteria or most obvious reason why there is an self-introduction task is because the examiners can assess you on your knowledge or your ability to use the tenses. So, of course, since you are asked to talk about your past career or past education, your present education and present career, and your future career or education, your plans, the three tenses that are examined are the past, present, and future. Of course, very obvious. And of course, the examiners will pay close attention to it. That was the first reason why there is a self-introduction task. The second reason is because it helps you get a bit loose, so it helps you to find into the language, kind of take out a bit of nervousness, and tries to get you into the mood of the exam. What you should consider if you do the self-introduction task, so you're normally asked about it, consider that there is a red thread. So of course it's not that difficult to not follow a red thread. So since you just have to mention what you did in the past, present, and future, all concerned with your education and career. So, how does a self-introduction task look like? You can see this, hopefully,
yeah, they can see.
Shitty camera angle. In this case, the exam is about schools of the past, present, and future. You will be asked some questions about your career, future plans, etc. So the first one, not task 1, the first one is the thing or the task we're gonna talk about today. You will be asked some questions, blah, 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 blah. That's the important thing you have to know. You can practice it, of course, at home. So, talking about your education is quite simple, of course, since you already know what you did what you need to know is maybe you need the English word for some jobs you did, or job you did, of course. But that's the thing you have to learn by yourself. Okay, learn by yourself. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. So, for example, if you want to talk about your education, you can start, of course, which school you visited, but maybe not all the schools you've been to. That's not the point here. I think it's quite interesting for how long you have been a English language learner. So when you started learning the English language, was it in the first grade or second grade, and so on? If you want to talk about the present, you can mention, of course, which course you attend in this. Normally, it's the it's the the course for the Berufsreifeprüfung, of course. But you might be also attending other courses and so on. You also can mention what you've done until now. So speaking of additional education, and of course future, what do you want to do with this newly acquired education or newly acquired degree in this case? If you want to study, you might kind of come up with something you're always been interested in, or maybe you just mentioned that you don't know, you are not sure, but you have two different points where you want to or fields of interest basically you want to focus on. Think about how you best can use the future tenses. So, and be careful which going to and will with the going to and will future. You might also use a phrase, for example, die Berufsreifeprüfung will enable me to finally open my own, I don't know, shop or something. I don't know. Just an example. Okay, so talking about your career is a bit different than, because it's a different aspect, different field we're focusing on. So maybe you could start, or normally you might start with, I made an apprenticeship as a mechanic or a bricklayer or a plumber or something. Then continue what you liked about it, what you disliked about it, and how long have you been a bricklayer or something, or how long did you do that job? You maybe you stopped doing this job and started another apprenticeship or worked in different jobs. So mention all the jobs you've got. If there's only one, mention when you started off, and so on. Focus on the past and think about the past, the present perfect, of course. And then, of course, think about what made you decide to do the A levels, and mainly it's because people want to get a better job, or of course want to study. And then of course you might also mention what you kind of imagining that your future career will look like. So just, for example, you could use my future career will focus on helping people that have physical and mental disabilities or something. Or your absolute dream job would be working with cats and dogs, for example. Just an example, as I've stated. But try to best come up with something that you really want to do, of course, and then come up with the vocabulary you need. Think about the phrases, and that's something. The introduction task is really something that is easy to practice. That's not something that takes a lot of skills. Of course, you need to know, you need to use the tenses correctly. That's really important, but the other things, of course, if you're able to talk about your career and your so past, present, and future career, the same goes with education, you're gonna be fine. The thing here is with demonstrations, of course, what I've mentioned in the beginning. The demonstrations basically are not that spectacular, and therefore we're gonna skip it today. However, if you want to have a look at how a whole exam looks like, and a whole exam kind of what the situation is like, tune in next Monday. Next Wednesday, and we're gonna do the whole exam, including introduction, task 1, task 2, and the follow-up discussion. So there you go. Really easy topic, but I hope we helped you out here and gave you some new knowledge that you can process now with a ice cold soda or beer, of course. See you next week. Bye bye.